Pyro erupts from the Bash at the Beach stage. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to AEW Bash at the Beach, an iconic pay-per-view for what I'm sure will be an iconic night of pure wrestling fun. Tonight, gentlemen, Hangman Page takes on Pac. Bit of history between the two, and it'll be great to finally see them face off again, plus FTR, who are a part of the three, with Page face the Von Erichs, a team they are yet to beat here in AEW. And I've clearly forgot to put Tony Schiavone on a script for this segment as we carry on. The Sex Gods also take on Mr. Brody Lee, and I believe the Dark Order have a new acquisition. We're going to find out who that is. Also, the Hardys team up as they take on Long Admirer's Private Party. But up next, the Young Bucks kicking tonight's show off with what I'm sure will be another great match. So we get a 53 here. We're in front of 10,000 fans jammed onto Huntington Beach, which is quite a historical place for Bash at the Beach because WCW Bash at the Beach took place there in 1995. Imagine seeing that again in real life, but with AEW. Would be a fantastic evening, and hopefully we'll get back to that at some point when the pandemic's over. So kicking off the action tonight, the Young Bucks up against Jurassic Express, and in a decent match, the Young Bucks defeat Jurassic Express in 10 minutes 27 when Matt Jackson pinned Luchasaurus with a moonsault. It's an interesting end that. So you'd imagine it'd be quite a fast-paced sort of match as well between these two, as we've seen in real life as well. It gets to 77, so fantastic way to get the crowd buzzing to kick off our first Bash at the Beach here on this TEW 2020 series. So Matt and Nick Jackson with fantastic in-ring performances, bit disappointing from Jurassic Express's point of view with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Definitely need to start building them up a little bit more instead of always having them on the losing end. So we'll have to try and work on that in the coming months. But saying that, I mean, it's still good to see that Luchasaurus has got high morale. So does, well, not so much Jungle Boy. But Luchasaurus, yeah, he's really happy still here in AEW. Well, after the match, Luchasaurus is in the corner consoling Jungle Boy. Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson watch on. Marco Stunt steps into the ring and doesn't seem too happy about losing. He confronts the Young Bucks and they swiftly hit a double super kick on Marco Stunt. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus can't believe it. What has gotten into the Young Bucks lately? They exit the ring after picking up another win. So we get 61 here. But the Young Bucks with the super kick to Marco Stunt. He's just always going to be falling victim to things like that, isn't he, Marco? Poor little Marco. But Luchasaurus did struggle when going off script, even though he wasn't on a script for this segment. He didn't really need to say anything. But everyone else seemed to do pretty well in this segment, apart, well, nothing's even mentioned of Marco Stunt in the report there. But anyway, up next, backstage, we see Brody Lee storming towards the Dark Order locker room. He kicks the door open and he's full of rage. Ah, Silver! This is your fault. You sent our latest signing to the wrong fucking arena, you fucking idiot. John Silver just stands there taking it with Stu Grayson stood beside him. Brody Lee then says, Stu, you're with me tonight then. And Silver, you better make up for this. You better make up for this. He leaves the room and Silver turns to Stu and says, what's his problem? I'm sorry, it's gotta be done. We've got to be playing on what's happening in real life with the Dark Order. They're just so over, especially John Silver, Johnny Hungy. So we get a 44 for this segment rating. So we did make the mistake that, well, we haven't actually signed who Brody Lee wanted to bring in, so we're just having to work around that. We're just making out that it's all John Silver's fault. We'll just put it all on John Silver at the moment. And Brody Lee did not do well with that script to follow. That's a bit disappointing. Does he really need a script? As we head into our next match, the Hardys, their second match together here in AEW against Private Party. Two guys that grew up, that admired the Hardys. They asked for this match on the previous episode of AEW Dynamite. They were granted it. And after 21 minutes 7, it was Jeff Hardy that pinned Isaiah Cassidy after a swanton bomb. Matt Hardy was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. So we get a 71 for this match, which is great to see. Here at Bash at the Beach. Let's have a look at the dirt sheet. Marquen, Isaiah Cassidy, they had that bit of a run, didn't they, a couple of months ago. They came very close to winning the Tag Team Championships, overcoming the Young Bucks again. They've done it twice now. So they was on a bit of a high. Now it's almost like a fall from grace. They've lost to the Hardys. Well, anyway, after the match, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy shake hands with Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Marquen, after their match together. Both really respectful of one another as well. Obviously, they would be, being big admirers of the Hardys. As Private Party leave the ring and head up the entranceway, Lance Archer storms out and double clotheslines them. He throws Isaiah Cassidy off the stage and then picks Marquen up for a blackout. Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy exit the ring quickly to intercept, and Archer puts Marquen down and leaves. Archer is not done with the Hardys yet, it seems. So Lance Archer, the Murderhawk monster, was about to black out Marquen on top of the entranceway. He already caused some devastation by throwing Isaiah Cassidy off the stage. You can imagine Isaiah doing that little squeal as he went overboard. As we move into our next segment outside the arena, a limo pulls up. Hangman Adam Page, Dax Hardwood and Cash Wheeler step out and head towards the arena. So they are here. The three are here at Huntington Beach for Bash at the Beach. FTR taking on the Von Erichs, Hangman Adam Page taking on Pac. Should be a good one. Up next, Judas plays. The fans sing along. What have I become? As Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara make their way to the ring for their tag team match versus the Dark Order. Brody Lee and Stu Grayson attack them from behind. The match doesn't get underway for a while as both teams brawl on the outside. It's chaos. There's sand everywhere, being on the Huntington Beach here as well. Jericho gets put through the bell table by Brody and Stu. They turn their attention then to Sammy, so it becomes a 2-on-1. They roll him into the ring as this match gets underway. So Jericho out of action for a little bit, so it'll be Sammy Guevara taking on Brody Lee and Stu Grayson. And in a bout that had good heat and decent wrestling, the Sex Gods drew with Brody Lee and Stu Grayson in 12 minutes 36 following a double count out. Hate doing them, but I feel as though it progresses the story. It's just absolute chaos between the Inner Circle and Dark Order. Brody Lee, Chris Jericho, obviously tensions really building between those two, and they're still unable to really get their hands on one another. You know, neither guy really getting one over the other, if you know what I mean, at the moment. And it's really good to note that Brody Lee and Stu Grayson showed excellent chemistry teaming together. Have I had that with Stu Grayson and Evil Uno? I'm not sure. Anyway, after the match ends in a double count out, both teams continue to brawl. Nothing seems to be able to separate them. Brody Lee gets taken out after a steel chair shot to the head by Sammy Guevara. He begins to bleed profusely. There's blood everywhere, all across the sand, blood in the sand. Sammy and Chris Jericho beat down Stu Grayson. Jericho sets up a table in the ring, keeping in mind that he's already been put through one, Chris Jericho. They place Stu Grayson on it. Sammy goes to the top and hits his 630 senton, putting Stu through the table. Brody Lee watches on from the top of the entranceway, blood flowing down his face. Instead of looking pissed, he smiles and laughs. This is far from over. Brody Lee always has a plan up his sleeve, and obviously we're going to find out who this new member of the Dark Order is soon if John Silver can sort things out with travel arrangements. We get 65 for this segment. Who knows where it's going to lead to on the next episode of AEW Dynamite. Up next, Rene Paquette. With me at this time, your new TNT champion, Orange Cassidy. Orange, we saw you defeat Pac over in the UK in a 2 out of 3 falls match for that illustrious TNT title. When will you defend it for the first time? Orange Cassidy just shrugs. Okay, so how are you feeling after finally overcoming Pac? Orange Cassidy puts his thumb up. Kip Sabian then interrupts. I'm sorry, but this is just stupid. Orange Cassidy, TNT champion? I know you're watching TNT. This is your champion. I mean, look at him. He's a loser. He's disrespectful to not only this business, but your network also. He hasn't even defended that title yet. I tell you what, let's fix that. Me and Orange next Wednesday on Dynamite. I'll make sure I put some respect back on that title. Kit walks off as Orange Cassidy just shrugs again and also walks off. He doesn't really seem to be that bothered, does he, Orange Cassidy? We get 59 for this segment rating. So will that go ahead on the next episode of Dynamite? Kip Sabian against Orange Cassidy for the TNT title? We will have to wait and see. As up next before the match between Thunder Rosa and Nyla Rose, the AEW Women's Champion Toni Storm heads out to the commentary desk to sit alongside JR and Tony Schiavone. So we get 54 for that. It's always good to see that for the women's division. So up next, Thunder Rosa takes on Nyla Rose. And in a terrible match, Thunder Rosa defeats the Beast Nyla Rose in 11 minutes 22 after a fast roll-up. It's the only way I could see that match turning out between those, two obviously different size competitors. And Thunder Rosa using her smarts to get the better of the Beast. And she did perform better than Nyla Rose, getting an in-ring performance of 41. After the match, Thunder Rosa celebrates standing up on the middle of the rope, looking and pointing towards Toni Storm's championship. She wants it. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, slides into the ring and attacks from behind. She puts Thunder in the lockjaw, clamping down hard. Thunder Rosa passes out. Britt Baker leaves the ring and walks past Toni Storm, giving her the cold shoulder. Job done. Message sent. So Dr. Britt Baker throwing her name into the hat as well, making it known that maybe she wants a shot, or maybe she thinks she deserves a shot at the AEW Women's Championship. So it advances the storyline and gains heat. Everyone doing really well in this segment as it gets a 51. Thunder Rosa doing a masterful job. So much to come from Thunder Rosa throughout this series. Up next, Tully Blanchard walks out with Dax and Cash, FTR, ready for their match with the Von Erichs. A classic showdown for a classic pay-per-view. Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix, the Lucha Brothers, dressed casually, can be seen sat in the front row with their tag team titles. This gets to 63. Again, I'm not too worried as I used to be with segment ratings when it comes to doing angles like this, as long as we make sure that we have fantastic matches put on consistently. That's what's going to bump up your show rating, making sure that you're putting on fantastic match after match after match. That's what I've discovered. It's probably been a known thing in the TEW community, but that's what I've come across anyway whilst doing this series. Anyway, FTR against the Von Erichs is up next, and in a decent match, after 11 minutes 24, FTR defeat the Von Erichs. It was Marshall Von Erich that was victim to the Goodnight Express. Dax Hardwood with the pin. And look at Cash and Dax's in-ring performance of 73-76. So good to see. Weren't they getting something like in the 60s at the start of this series? And they've just improved. They've gone from strength to strength as this series has gone on. Arn Anderson was the road agent. There was the tag experience there for Marshall and Ross Von Erich, which is really good to see. A lot of potential to come from them too as well. Still very young. Still got a lot to learn and a lot to give as well to the business. And they're actually a team I could see in AEW in real life. Anyway, up next, after the match, Dax and Cash taunt Ross and Marshall Von Erich and can be heard saying, "You're not ready yet, boys. You're not ready. Go back to the minor leagues." Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix jump the barricade and enter the ring. They stare down FTR. They hold their titles above their heads. It's epic. Fans are on their feet here at Huntington Beach. A dream match for Revolution. FTR against the Lucha Brothers for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Should be a good one. So we get 66 for that. Tully helping out Dex and Cash during this segment. One can only imagine what sort of match that's going to be at Revolution in just a couple of weeks' time. Taz is then seen backstage with a mic and he goes on to say, "This past week on Dynamite, Tony Khan thought it'd be a good idea to have the Machine Brian Cage face Brian Pillman Jr. Good idea on paper, but reckless, knowing that Bash at the Beach was right around the corner. As it happens, Cage got injured on Wednesday with a TFCC tear to his hand. If it wasn't for that match, Cage would be here tonight on the card and making us lots of money. You made a mistake, Tony, and in return, I expect you to make up for it next Wednesday. I'll be waiting." So Taz getting a 55 segment rating here. Taz not happy that Brian Cage was put in action on the previous episode of Dynamite. He did get injured with a TFCC tear to his hand. So he's going to be out for not too long. I mean, 20 odd days or so. It's not ideal, but we're just going to have to work around it with this story. Up next, it's our main event of the evening of Bash at the Beach between Hangman Adam Page and Pac. In a superb match, after 19 minutes 43, Hangman Adam Page defeats the bastard Pac with a buckshot lariat. Gets a 75, it got the crowd buzzing. And you can see segment rating was penalised for the odd face-heel combination. Not too worried about that. The road agent was Tully Blanchard. We got a bonus for that. But both fellas putting in a fantastic shift, putting in a fantastic match. Great main event. Hangman Adam Page and Pac, they have fought in real life a few times, and it's always been a spectacle, really, and I didn't expect anything less from these two. I was maybe hoping for pushing an 80 between these two, but 75 is still very, very respectable. After the match, Hangman Adam Page is catching his breath in the middle of the ring. The arena descends into darkness. Obviously, the night's kicked on here at Huntington Beach. Devil's Sky plays. Kenny Omega stands at the top of the entranceway in a beacon of light. He slowly walks down to the ring. The fans are losing their minds. Are we finally going to get the face-off between Page and Omega after what happened back at Full Gear? Seems like such a long time ago now. As Omega gets closer to the ring, Hangman rolls out and leaves through the crowd. Kenny steps into the ring as he watches Hangman leave. Pac comes from nowhere and attacks Kenny from behind with a steel chair. He then pile drives Kenny onto the chair, similar to what he did to Mox on Wednesday. Bash at the Beach comes to a close with Pac staring down the camera, looking menacing. The bastard that he is. Yes, he lost, but he is still standing. So he's attacked the AEW World Champion Jon Moxley, and he's attacked Kenny Omega as well, when we was just about to get the first showdown between Omega and Page since the split up after what Page did to Kenny Omega at Full Gear. Wow. This is, it's getting intense, and I'm really enjoying putting this one together for you guys. We get an 82 segment rating for this final segment of Bash at the Beach in front of 10,000 here at Huntington Beach. Let's see what the overall show rating is then for this year's Bash at the Beach here in January. A 76. 76, that's not bad. I'm happy with that. It's not our best pay-per-view that we've put on. The best pay-per-view we've done has been All Out, my first pay-per-view that I've ever done on TEW. Followed closely behind by Halloween Havoc, I think it was, and then Full Gear, and now Bash at the Beach. So a few decent segments in there, a few angles, but what I'm more impressed by is the fact that the main event didn't top the opening match between the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express, which got a 77, but still a great way to start the show and a great way to end as well. Would have been nice to have been topping maybe a 70 for that tag team match between the Sex Gods and the Dark Order, but maybe we would have got that if the new member of the Dark Order hadn't have been diverted elsewhere by John Silver, but it is what it is. Anyway, that is going to be it for AEW Bash at the Beach. Do hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you all very soon for the next episode of AEW Dynamite. Don't miss it.